Welcome to Patrick's Scale Studio. My name's Patrick. I'll be your host. This is take 2 of my review of USS Stevens DD-479 in 1/200 scale. What happened to the first take, you ask? The microphone decided to not be recognized by my computer. So, yay me. We'll go over this again, though. This is a great box art. And right off the bat, we can see what's so special about USS Stevens, even though it is among over 100 destroyers in the USS Fletcher class, and that is this aircraft catapult right there, along with the Kingfisher right there that it carried. But it is a Fletcher class destroyer, and it shares a lot of similarities with USS Fletcher, but it also differs in some ways, so I figured a review was worth it. Go ahead, and you're going to hear everything rattling around in there because I already cut everything open. But here we go. Here is the sign. You can see some computer-assisted drafting images. Looks like all the photo etch is called out in a brass color. Very nicely detailed. Right here we get a quick diagram of the decals and the 2 photo etch sheets that you get in the kit. We'll flip it around here and have a look at the other side. All right, so right there, we've got the basic scheme. This is going to be real nice and simple scheme. I do plan on building this concurrently with USS Fletcher, so catching up to where I'm at in Fletcher should be relatively simple with all the masking for the Measure 12 camouflage scheme and everything. And you can pause your video right there if you'd like to have a read on this. Let's see, come on, there we go. Oh, no, camera's being camera again. For those who read Chinese. And yeah, we know this is not a toy. Just the usual jargon there that goes with model kits. All right, open up the box. And again, I already did a review. This is second take, so nothing is in plastic, but it should actually make the review quicker. So go ahead and move this box aside and have a look at what is included here, paperwork-wise, decals and whatnot. You get your normal flyer that comes in Hobby Boss, I Love kit, and Trumpeter kits. Usually details, one, the kit that you just got, and then something that is new that they've just put out or maybe even upcoming. So right here, 100% new tooling for a British main battle tank Challenger. All right. Right here, a little bit of a larger color scheme sheet here for USS Stevens and its Kingfisher. You get color call-outs here by Mr. Hobby, Acrovision, Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya, and Humbrol. I usually stick with Tamiya colors, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of mixing here and there in order to get the colors that I need for this, but that's all right. Nothing new to me. All right. Here's the instructions. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Again, a lot of this is very similar to Fletcher, so this shouldn't take too long. You get your sprue call out or sprue diagram right there. Single piece hull, single piece main deck. The sprues right here, 5-inch guns. You get the stand, and then these are the superstructure and your Kingfisher. 2 sheets of photo etch right there, along with some chain, non-studded chain again. There's your decal sheet. All right, so moving on in the instructions here. Pretty basic stuff. Very first steps is you're going to be assembling the rudder. Going to be putting down the decals on the one-piece deck, putting that into the hull, putting on the propeller shaft, and the propeller shaft mount, stand, what have you, and then putting the rudder assembly on there. All right. Yeah, right here, we've got where we're going to start fitting it out with some of the various deck pieces here, the propeller guards, some of these little photo etch valve, what have you, reels, some ammunition lockers. Moving on to page 5 here. Splinter shields, some of the bollards, the capstan right there. It even has you putting in the K-guns right here. So again, a lot of this is very similar to USS Fletcher. The splinter shields are a little bit different, and some of these ammunition lockers do not exist on Fletcher. Here we got the fair leads going in. Anchor and the anchor chain. Again, non-studded anchor chain, but at the scale of 1/200, it's a little difficult for metal studded anchor chain. So I still have enough from the HS model set that I should be able to replace all of this with that, a little bit better detail. Davits right here going in. All right, here we start getting into the depth charge racks. So there is the main aft depth charge racks right there, very similar to, if not identical to, what's on Fletcher. These ones are different than Fletcher, though, in that they're actual racks of depth charges. Looks like we've got a winch, or maybe a windlass, if I've got that terminology correct. Let me know if I'm wrong. This part right here is absolutely identical to what happens on USS Fletcher, this piece, except for this decal on top here and these ammunition lockers. But everything else, this main piece, the photo etch, the columns here, the 20 millimeter Oerlikons, all the same. All right, here is a big divergent from USS Fletcher in that the center and aft deck houses, or those pieces, are 2 pieces. In this kit, it's 1 part. So put down the decals on that, put in some bulkheads right here to kind of help separate the parts, and then a lot of the various pieces that go on with these little ammunition lockers and some of the little shields. Further detailing on that with photo etch railing. All right, this right here is where we're going to put those deck houses, those superstructure parts, down on the deck. And this is currently almost where I'm at on Fletcher. So catching up to Fletcher should not be a big ask with this kit. Here we go with the twin 40 millimeter Bofors and the 5-inch practice. More 20 millimeter Oerlikons. I said practice. It's a practice loader for a 5-inch gun. Moving on, we have the ship's boats, and we have the built-in hoist or crane, some ladders, another davit. It looks like this is just some kind of a rack. Not really sure what that would have been used for on the real thing. This is where we're putting those ship's boats in place. And again, it looks like Trumpeter would just have us believe they kind of float there in midair beneath the davits. All right, another big divergence from Fletcher is there is this very large crane right here. And this would have been used for picking the Kingfisher up out of the water when it was coming back to home base. Carly floats. Some more pieces here. Looks like supporting pieces. I'm not sure what for yet. More of the superstructure parts here. Flag lockers. Looks like binoculars. Another Oerlikon cannon right there. And that is another good point here. This USS Stevens had 8 20 millimeter Oerlikon cannons. USS Fletcher only had 6. So here is another big major difference between Stevens and Fletcher, and that is the aircraft catapult. Here we've got the Mark 37 fire director, and I still have one from Ben from the Midwest Model Shop that I'm going to use on this. There's the mast. Only a single quintuple torpedo mount will be fitted onto this ship right here. Fletcher's got two. I'm going to start work on the funnels. More funnel. And then we have 4 5-inch guns right here of 2 different types. And you can kind of see here by the pictures where the differences lie. This one's got some armor plating on top, whereas this one does not. And here we go, fitting on the catapult, the torpedoes, the bridge, and then the 5-inch guns, funnels, and mast. And we construct the Kingfisher right here. And lastly, throw on some railing, and if you want to use the stand, put the stand together so you can put this down on top of it. So that's the instructions. Here's the decals for this. Again, different from Fletcher. You only get about half the decals you would get with Fletcher. Fletcher's also got a set of decals for years later, where these are all segmented, kind of like dashed pieces. They look like individual matte pieces, whereas the way I've modeled Fletcher and the way this is being modeled is just single anti-slip walkway area. The decals for the Kingfisher, the American flag, the jack, and unfortunately, shadowed hull numbers. They're not supposed to be shadowed for USS Stevens during this year. It's supposed to be just plain white hull numbers. So I'm going to have to, again, source some proper hull numbers. I think I've got what I need, though, to make that happen. I will look at the photo etch here. Include the anchor chain right there. Again, non-studded, because anchor chain at 1/200 scale that is metal is just not really possible. Some very generic railing. And this right here is very specific to Stevens. We get the catapult parts right here, ladders, some of the railings that go on the superstructure, some of the antenna stuff, Mark 37 fire control director. I'm not really sure 100% what these are. I think these are for the depth charge racks that goes on the port and starboard side. The shields for the Orlikins. Right there would be for the aircraft crane, and then just parts for the reels and ladders, various stuff like that. So ahead and load that back in there, and let's have a look at some of the plastic. All right, so here is the one-piece hull by Trumpeter. Sure that focuses here properly for us. As you can see, it is pretty much identical to what you get in USS Fletcher. I said Fletcher just a half minute ago. This is for Stevens, and the hull is actually marked Stevens, 1/200 Stevens. Same thing that's in Fletcher, though. It is marked 1/200 Stevens even on the Fletcher kit, because the hulls are identical. But there you go. You get the riveting detail. And I get the bilge keels on here. They're a touch thick, but if you're viewing it from this angle, it doesn't look bad at all. Pretty cleanly molded. Everything looks crisp. It looks like we've got one mold seam line right here with some of the sprue connection points. They've already cut the sprue off, so we're just going to have to sand this down. Here's the one-piece deck. You've already got these raised areas here where the decals go for the anti-slip walkways. And this part is definitely specific to Stevens. And you can tell because right back here, you've got this splinter shield area right there. Now, as for how well this fits, amazes me every time. Like a glove. After you put a little bit of cement in this, and maybe here and there, a touch of putty if it's necessary. That seam line is going to disappear completely, and it'll look like one solid piece. The fit is outstanding. Go ahead and put that aside. All right, this right here is the sprue containing the 4 5-inch guns, and as we can see here, there's the one type with the armor plating on top. Here's the other type without, and you get 4 of these in one sprue. Here are the parts for the superstructure and bridge. You can see how clean the details are. And just really, they did an outstanding job with the molding on this. Everything's real crisp. There's no flash, even in areas where you are not going to be able to see. It's just simply not going to be able to see that. This is the part that, to me, I believe is identical to USS Fletcher. All right, then we move on to this part builds up on top of here. Very nice. And lastly, right here, I believe this is the bridge. And again, what amazes me here, the round bridge Fletchers, they managed to mold these circular windows perfectly circular. They're not oval or anything like that. And if you're really aware of how these parts are molded, slide molding and what have you, this is, I've never seen anything like it before USS Fletcher. So bravo, Trumpeter. All righty. And here is the one-piece midships and aft deckhouse part all in one. A lot of very crisp detail there. And one thing, and I mentioned in one of the Fletcher videos when I was fitting some of this stuff out, is I really like how a lot of the locating holes for this go all the way through the part. So you can hold the part to that and you can put the cement on from the backside where it won't be seen. And then you don't have to worry about having any kind of a cement mess or anything like that that you might have to worry about cleaning up. So I really appreciate that about the what they've done with this kit and how they've engineered it. Here is the Kingfisher bottom fuselage and wings, horizontal stabilizers, all in one part. Some folks complain that the detail may be overdone or the panel lines, but I think they're semi. Actually, I think they're good. Not even semi. I think they're good. You want to put some kind of detail on there so it doesn't just look like a little micro machine sitting on the top of your USS Stevens. So here's the floats. These go at the very end of the wings, and there's the upper part of the fuselage right there. Everything you need to make a 1/200 scale Kingfisher, and all in all, fairly well detailed. All right, our next sprue right here has the nameplate. I'm not overly fond of using these, but it's there for anyone that does, and it even comes with little back stands already molded in here, so it'll lean naturally back. Our propeller shafts, funnel, depth charge racks, propellers, and again, I've got some from Ben from the Midwest Model Shop that I'll be using for this build. It was too late on Fletcher when I got those. There's the prop guards. There's our mast. Again, very clean, no flash. The only issue I've got with any of the Trumpeter kits are these ejector pin marks right here. These are raised, so I'll have to sand these down, but you'll notice a lot of them you have to fill. But that's part of what we do. All right, parts for our Mark 37 fire control director, parts of the superstructure, more funnel parts right there. Depth charge, there. This is for the hoist or crane, whichever you're going to call it. You get the twin 40 millimeter Bofors right there. Going to be replacing that. Thank you, Ben, from Midwest Model Shop. I know I sound like a commercial sometimes. All right, this is, again, very specific to USS Stevens and not shared with Fletcher. These splinter shields that go up along the bulwarks, just above the bulwarks, a little bit different here. There's many more attachment points, and this one actually runs a little bit longer. These splinter shields are a little bit different here. There's some of the bulkhead parts for that mid and aft deck house part. You get two of these sprues. I'll put one aside. And this has the ship's boats, the bottoms of the 5-inch guns, barrels, torpedo, the quintuple torpedo mount, which we're only going to use one of, depth charge pieces, and you get two of these, and each one of these has 4 of these, so you do have the correct amount of 20 millimeter Oerlikons if you need those, if you're going to use those. Here's the Carly floats, just a bunch of davits and whatnot. I didn't even bother taking this out of the bag because I've already got one that I built up for Fletcher that I'm not going to use for the Fletcher when I'm finished up with it. So same thing here. There's not even any bother to take it out of the bag or anything like that. But there you have it. That is all of the plastic, all of the model, everything you get within the kit for USS Stevens by Trumpeter in 1/200 scale. If you have any questions about anything you've seen or you would like a little bit closer look at some of the parts, feel free to either email me or leave that feedback for me, and I'll reach out to you with some pictures or whatever you might need. Otherwise, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about the review or the kit, please leave that feedback for me in the description below. And until next time, stay safe. Happy modeling.